So when a child is born, he or she is karmically connected to us. There must be 1001 good reason why you marry your spouse. It cannot be you just walk somewhere, you want to marry me, I want to marry you, and you get married. No. There must be 1001 good reason, right? And sometimes you just cannot understand. What's happening? She's from the north, you're from the south, she's from the East Malaysia, and some words still she's from the other side of the world, you're from this side of the world. And yet you got married. So from a Buddhist perspective, karma works in a very strange way. Karma brings people together for the good or worst reason, whatever it could be good and worst reason. So karma brings us together. So when a baby comes into your life, into the family itself, from a Buddhist perspective, it is a karma that brings us together. Now, I'm not saying it's a good karma. Am I saying it's a bad karma? It could be either one of this. Okay? So Chinese say something like 前世的缘. It's carried into this life itself. It could be 善缘, a good karma. It could be 恶缘. It could be a bad karma that comes into this very life itself. But nevertheless, when a child is born, it's karmically connected to us. In the true sense, we don't get to choose our children. Do you get to choose your children? I want type A children, not type B. Can I have type B children? Well, maybe the most you can do because of scientific development, you can choose. Maybe you want the baby to be a boy or a girl. Genetically, they can do some kind of whatever it is, to make sure that you got a boy or a girl. You can go through some process. But most of the time, you can't even choose whether a boy or a girl. Okay? We leave it to chance in a sense. And most of the times also we don't have a choice to choose whether we want a healthy child or a not healthy child. Do you have a choice? No. Of course, you all hope, may my child be born this way, healthy, smart, good looking, whatever you aspire for. But sometimes we don't get that. So we don't get to choose our child in a certain sense. You all agree with me? Otherwise, you would have gone and says, okay, I don't want type A, I want type B, I want type C. You would have done that, but we can't. The child just comes to our life. Now, in a true sense, we don't get to choose our children. They chose us based on their karma. From the Buddhist perspective, how a being comes into life. The Buddha says in the Buddhist scripture, first, there must be a father and mother. That means you and your spouse. Second condition, it must be the mother's fertile period. So you can come together, make love, whatever it is, but it's not a fertile period of the mother. There will be no life. Conceptions. So the Buddha said there must be a man and a woman, and they must come together. Condition, this is our condition. It must be the fertile period of the mother. Then a life is possibly being conceived. And sometimes you can have all this. There's one important ingredient that needs to be there for life to take place. From the Buddhist perspective, there must be a being ready to be born. This is interesting. So that's why sometimes you find some cases where husband and wife, they get married, and then they spend many nights together, and then they conceive. But after conception for first weeks, first months, or for whatever it is, the baby just doesn't. Whatever it is, the embryo just doesn't grow, and it's just gone because there's no life to be born. So there must be a life, a being ready to be born. Then you have that embryo growing. And that depends on the karma of that being. If the karma of that being is good and strong, the baby will grow naturally to the full 9 months or so and be born. But if the karma of that being is very shallow, it's conceived, Yes, there's a dream, the being grow for a short while, maybe 3 months after that. That's it. 我们佛教讲要有缘，缘也要有深度的，不是缘浅。It's a very shallow karma. Sometimes, maybe that means in the previous life, in the last thought moment, and a few other last few years of his life, was a very good person. But all through his other time in his life, not so good. So when he dies at that point in time, it was a very good death. He was conceived as a human being. In fact, he has a life as a human being, but only for 3 weeks, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. Not good enough to be born as a full baby, but in the womb as a human being for 3 months, 6 months, whatever months. So that's how we Buddhists look at life. Okay, so we explain why certain people got stillbirth, certain people got miscarriage, certain people got it, because that life to be born depends a lot on the karma. That brings karma. Understand how it works? Yeah. So back to where, yes.
In the Buddhist perspective, if a parent select the date of the baby before those
Kongsu.
so that it affect the karma cycle.
With technology, you can always quicken the delivery lah. You cannot quicken too much lah. The most is supposed to be some. Those days I remember the year 2000. Everybody wanted to be born in certain time, things like that. So they go for cesarean and get it out. That one is human effort. Probably they will be born in another 2 weeks, but they want to be born earlier 2 weeks and things like that. Because some cases for some parents, the baby is supposed to be born, in another beginning of the year. They don't want. They want to be before the year end, so they go for cesarean. These are all human interventions, but it should not be too far away, because it's too far away it affects them. So there are cases people do that. So this has nothing to do with karma. These are all human interventions. Whether there's any bad karma, if the baby born safe, that's it. But if it's too premature, then it's still good. Now that's not where I'm going to. I'm leading you to talk about parenting here.